It didn't. Okay. Hello and welcome to episode 1079 of The Sleeper and the Bust. It is Friday, July 22nd. I'm your host, Paul Sporer, joined this morning by Justin Mason. Justin, very early over there. Good morning, sir.
Yeah, it is. Bright and early, waking up with Justin and Paul.
That's right. But hey, that's okay. Fridays, we're both ready to do it. Neither of us particular morning people, but I've shifted a bit, and you have your day job that makes you up early, so that creates the 8 o'clock Central Friday show.
Plus, it's
And
good for me because I've got Potapalooza this weekend. So,
you've got a huge weekend coming up.
yeah, I got to be
Can't
up early for that anyway. It starts at 7
we'll
o'clock in the morning,
practice.
my time. Yeah, so 10 a.m. on East Coast, 7 a.m. West Coast tomorrow, Sunday. Over 50 fantasy analysts coming together, raise money for charity for Big League Impact. Yeah, it's going to be a blast. So definitely come through. I'm going to put it up on Fangraphs, on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Facebook. So all those amazing places you can come watch and raise money for a really, really great cause. If you want to donate, Justin Mason Fantasy at gmail.com or at Justin Salinger on Venmo. And every dollar you donate gets you a raffle ticket to win awesome prizes, including TGFBI entries, baseball cards, bobbleheads, T-shirts, subscriptions to sites. Even Patrick Davitt's giving away a guest spot on Baseball HQ Radio.
Ooh, that's pretty cool. Is there any universal or like a one-stop shop where people can find the schedule, the rundown of things?
I will post that on the site
Okay.
tomorrow, along with an embedded link to the live streams.
And which site would that be? Friends with Fantasy Benefits?
No, Fangraphs.
Put it on Fangraphs. Okay.
Yeah, I'll put it on Fangraphs tomorrow. It'll tweet out, or it'll be up right at 10 o'clock in the morning Eastern. And I'll also post. I've been posting kind of a thread of the schedule.
Yes.
On Twitter, I'll also post like just an actual like hard copy of the schedule as well. So it'll be out there. You're on tomorrow.
Second.
Yeah, you're second, right? So
Can't
that means 11 a.m. Nick Pollock, Michael Simeone, Eric Samolsky, and you talking starting pitching. So that should be pretty fun.
Which is what we're going to talk about today. Maybe some of these players will come up. We're on the segues. We're zipping on over. So what we're doing, Justin, is we're searching for some second half studs. Basically, I took a bunch of guys that I found pretty intriguing that currently hold Sierras over 4. Sierra is skill interactive ERA. It's another ERA indicator. It's in the same vein as like a FIP or an xERA. It happens to have the best correlation to ERA prediction. Not by major margins. If you're using FIP, if you're using XFIP, Sierra, xERA, you're not going to be too far off, whichever one you choose. I happen to like Sierra. That's the one we're using. So I picked 16 guys that have 4 or better in their Sierra, which means that they might have ERAs that are under 4. So are those guys in some trouble, or can they get their skills closer to where their ERAs are? And then some other guys who are well over 4 ERA, can they bring their ERAs down to where these Sierras are? So let's just get into it. We have a few team groupings here to start off. Patrick Sandoval and Reed Detmers on the Angels. A couple different pitchers there, right? Obviously, Patrick Sandoval, a lot of hype coming into the year. There's some major expectation there. Reed Detmers is a rookie who's had some ups and downs. The expectation level is not as high for him, but both currently toting that 4 or higher Sierra. In fact, the best ERA of this group is Sandoval at 3, but he has a 4.04 Sierra. And Justin, it's because of the 143 whip. He's just walking too many guys at 10%. And like his 8.8 hits per 9 is pretty high too. That comes with the ground balls and a lack of quality defense there. But we have the swing and miss, 24% K rate, 13% swinging strikes for Patrick Sandoval. We'll do Sandoval first, then Detmers. Can Sandoval maintain this ERA but start to earn it, or do you worry that he's going the other way because of that aforementioned whip? What do you come out on Patrick Sandoval in the second
half? I think he's got just a really wide range of outcomes. I love Patrick Sandoval. Like I drafted him in the main, I think like 11th round or something like that. Tried to snipe Scott Genstad, just drive a dagger into the heart of
Try to
Striker.
strike Striker. Yeah.
Yeah,
You
so
can get reverse struck when you do that, though. You got to be
yeah,
careful. If you're trying to strike
absolutely.
Striker, what's the phrase? You better, if you come for the king, you best not miss,
Yeah,
because he gonna get you.
it's definitely missed me in terms of what he's done to my whip.
Exactly. He's
It's
whipping you around.
yeah, that whip has not been great. But I just think there's such a wide range of outcomes, especially with that high walk rate and that high ground ball rate. And that defense behind him really just is not very good. And uh, it's been a lot of different faces back there. They've been really
No
devastated
consistency.
injury wise on that infield. So I mean, the upside is huge, and we've seen it, right? We've seen him just absolutely dominate in outings, and for stretches of time. We saw it last year. One of the reasons why he was such a kind of popular sleeper, quote unquote, sleeper pick this year. And same way, I mean, Reed Detmers was a really popular sleeper pick.
Yeah, but they were different. Sandoval
Yeah,
was a wide awake
exactly.
sleeper, which I think was what you were kind of hinting at. Whereas Detmers was an actual sleeper, and he's kind of had some fun. But with Sandoval, I think the easiest comp is Luis Castillo. Their changeup first guys. I think I've already made this comp on the show. Their changeup first guys live on that ground ball, can have walk issues, and we know the volatility of Luis Castillo. I mean, look at last year. Remember when he started the first 2 months, like 7.22 ERA, sub 3 ERA over the final 4 months. So we know how this profile can work. I think Sandoval is definitely somebody. You're not getting him off the wire or anything. Some of these guys will be on the wire. Sandoval, obviously not. I'm riding it out with him, even though the whip is egregiously high. I think he can improve. I don't know that he's going to start earning, quote unquote, a 3 ERA, but I think he can be like a mid threes type of Sierra, which means he gets the whip down. Things get back in check a little bit, shave a little bit off those walks, get the hits in check, continue to have the strikeout rate. And I think Sandoval will be a good second half pitcher.
I do too. I think the only issue, and I think it's an issue obviously with both these guys, is, or not the only issue, but one of the issues that we haven't mentioned, is the fact they run a 6-man rotation, and
that's true too. I thought you were gonna say like, what do they do to the team at the deadline? But yeah, they run a 6-man, so no 2 starts for any of these.
I mean, I don't know what they do. I don't think anything the team does hurts them, because who are they really going to trade away from that offense? Like,
true.
there's nobody left that's alive.
Well, and they've already been having a what the fuck is that called? Rotating, revolving door. God.
Yeah.
But they've already had a revolving door in the infield, as you highlighted. What more could like trading VR do if for some reason they found a taker for him? So you're right. Let's go to Detmers real quick. Different story completely, right? Doesn't have the skill set to fall back on, the swing and miss that Sandoval does. I think that his no-hitter was a perfect microcosm of where Detmers is right now, which isn't particularly special, right? It was a 2 strikeout no-hitter. It wasn't one of those that felt overpowering. Not to take away from his special night. It's awesome when you get a no-hitter. Everything's working your way. But not all no-hitters are created equally either. And when you only have 2 strikeouts, it's less impressive, simply put. And the lack of swing and miss has been the issue with Detmers. We just haven't really seen it. I do think it's there for the future. Like I still believe in him fully for the future. But for this year, he's riding a 198 average. So the defense is actually showing up for Reed Detmers. Part of that is that they don't have to field as many ground balls. It's a 38% ground ball rate. Can Detmers be more than he's been to this point? Or do you look at that 444 Sierra and say, yeah, that's about who he is? And if anything, I expect the 107 whip to start inching upward. What does Detmers' second half look like to you?
I kind of think this is who he is, at least for right now. I think he would really, I think he would really benefit from a pitch mix change a little bit. Maybe throw the change up a little bit more. He's only thrown it 13% of the time, and it's been kind of it's at least played the best out of his secondaries. So maybe it's something they retool in the off season. Try to work on pitch mix and pitch sequencing. One of the problems with him is command within the zone. Like sometimes he just doesn't have it, can lead to home runs. I don't know. He doesn't have the strikeout upside, at least right now. Like you kind of, I think, alluded to, like you watch him pitch and you go, why isn't he striking out?
You see it,
yeah. Why is he giving up so much contact? He gives up a lot of contact inside the zone, but also outside of the zone gives up a lot of contact. And I think that just leads sometimes to some base hits that probably wouldn't fall if he was just moving his stuff a little bit better with the breaking stuff. So I think he needs some retooling. I think maybe he came up to the majors a little fast, and that's why you saw him get sent back down. But it's hard to, like, when a guy throws a no hitter, it's hard to send him back down to the minor leagues.
That's true. That's true. I actually think it's okay that he's up. Like, I think more so like he just wasn't ready for prime time fantasy wise. He did get the little send down to kind of clear his head because things had gone a bit south after the no hitter. And it's like, you don't want him to lose his confidence. Like, am I a complete fraud? Was that no hitter the luckiest thing ever and the only good moment I'll have? No. Let's level out. You're fine. I think him being like Reed Detmers being like a fourth, fifth starter off rip is pretty impressive. But is he ready to be a fourth, fifth fantasy starter right now? I don't necessarily think so. You're looking at the 4.11 ERA, 107 WHIP. Those numbers say you can make the grade in a 15-teamer, but a 20% K rate and the lack of dominance that we've seen, I think puts that at risk for him to raise that ERA closer to the 4.44 Sierra or even higher. So I have some concerns about Detmers in the second half, but like I said, still love him long term. What if he's not allowing a 198 average? If that just moves up to even something like 220, which would be a good batting average against, all those extra hits could be very problematic for him, especially with the 1.4 homer 9. I have concerns about Reed Detmers in the second half. Even though that he had 2 good starts upon returning with 13 strikeouts, I'm conflicted here because I also am curious if you think there's any sort of innings to be looking out for. He has 76 this year if you include the 1 start in the minors. Do we see a cap, or can he get to the finish line with like a $160? If he has 80 more innings, or I guess that would be what would that be? 90 more innings.
I don't know that definitely don't think he has 90 more innings, but because the Angels run a 6-man rotation, they could probably just limit him in games. Like, hey, you're only going to go 5 innings at max. So that way you do make it to the finish line, or maybe there's an IL stint or a demotion at some point.
Yeah, I forgot with the 6-man. Yeah, he doesn't need to go 90 innings to like kind of get to the finish line. Let's do the math real quick. There's 92 games that they played, which means they have 70 left. Divided by 6, that's about 11/12 turns. We'll go 12. We'll go all the way with it. Even if that's 5 innings apiece, that's only 60 innings.
Yeah,
and that gets him to the finish line. So that's not bad though. That like he shouldn't. If you like Detmers and if you have him like an AL only, where he is an easy play all the time, you shouldn't face too much innings consideration. I don't think with Reed Detmers. I think the 6-man kind of protects that, right?
Yeah, and with them not really being competitive, I think they'll just be careful and kind of let him. Yeah, it's unreal. It's just unreal how they have 2 of the greatest players of our generation, arguably the greatest players of our generation, and they're not going to make.
And not just that. It's not 2 players and then a bunch of -5 WAR guys. There's other good players on the team. They just suck so bad.
They actually kind of fixed the rotation, which has been their one like Achilles heel. And
honestly, it's that infield that you talked about. Like we could go deeper on that. Obviously, not for this episode, but like breaking that down. The lack of stability on the infield has been a nightmare for them at every position except for first with Jared Walsh. All 3 of the others have been turnover city. So anyway, sorry, Detmers. Go ahead and put your bow on it, and we'll move on to the next one.
No, that's it. I think he's guy just judicious with the rest of the season. Like, really kind of pick and choose your starts. Agreed. But there's some bad teams in that division, even though he doesn't get to face his own.
Yeah, and you could always against Oakland, you're doing that even in like a 10-teamer type deal. Yeah. Let's go out to San Diego. We got 3 guys out there that could definitely make some noise in this realm here. And varying degrees, same with the Sandoval versus Detmers. We've got 2 veterans in Blake Snell and Sean Manaea, and then a rookie in Mackenzie Gore. So we got 3 guys here that could all play up big. Let's start with Manaea, who has a 4 Sierra. I believe that would be the best of this bunch because you can't be any lower than that. It started at 4. So Manaea and Snell are at 4 and 4.02 respectively. They are the 2 best by Sierra here, but Manaea has a 4.11 ERA and Snell has a 5.22. So let's start with the veteran lefties. Manaea first. He has 102/3 innings with that 4.11 ERA, 123 WHIP, 24% K rate. and he's been a 4 CR. He's kind of been who he's supposed to be. Is there anything more there, or is it just more of the same for Manaea in the second half? Where do you come out with Sean Manaea in San Diego?
I always feel like there's something more with Manaea. But the changeup has been really, really bad this year. Like, and that's been a problem. So, I think there's just going to be inconsistencies until that changeup starts to play up a little bit, and he's got like a 12% swinging strike rate. So I don't think that we're going to see like a ton more strikeouts or anything. I think he's going to be kind of just right around in strikeout an inning or sub that. He's not getting a ton of ground balls in the way that he has at certain points during his career. Yeah, I think he's just going to be kind of the inconsistent, Sean Manaea that we've seen over the course of his career. There are going to be these bright spots where you go, oh, here it is. Here is the guy that we've all been waiting on. And then there are going to be those games that he just doesn't have it and gives up a couple home runs or gets hit around. So I love the idea of Sean Manaea. I don't know that I actually love the end result.
It's kind of a left-handed Jose Barrios to me.
Oh, yeah.
In that, not as much of like that workhorse, although he's got some 32, 27, 29 stars. But anyway, like that sort of like, even when his highs are up there, it's always going to come back. What you said about how like he'll always have that kind of bumpy start, Manaea will, and kind of give some of the greatness back.
Yep.
And we saw that even in his season last year. That was a pretty good year overall, but there were still those disaster periods. He had 4 starts of 5 earned runs, or excuse me, 5 starts of 5 earned runs. Manaea did, which kind of kept that ERA in check, 391, even though he had a 366 Sierra last year. So that highlights the point that you're talking about with Manaea, and I totally agree. Let's move over to Snell. We know the upside can be rich. Even this year, he has a 30% K rate with a 14.4 swinging strike rate. So it's backed up there. He also has a 14% walk rate, though.
Yeah.
It all comes down to the command and control. And right now it's not there. Can he find it? And more importantly, you say, can he? Sure, he can. Realistically, does he? What is the likelihood that Blake Snell finds some command and works his ERA back down toward that 402 Sierra, which is where he's been exactly for the last 2 years. That's what his number was last year. That's what it is this year, but he's put up 420 and 522 ERAs around it. So what Snell do we get? The guy working toward his Sierra or the guy who continues to underperform that Sierra?
Oh, I mean, it all comes down to control with him, actually. I mean, it's just, he's just walking everybody. He's got like a 35% zone rate. Like
14% is, it's tough. 14% walk rate. Like, that's so high.
And and league average for zone rates, above 40, right? For 41.3%. He's in the zone about 35%. I can get like, hey, I don't want to give up the home run, so I'm okay putting a guy on base, but
it gets to be a little bit too much. I mean, he has 2
He
walks.
also doesn't have any elite defense either behind him.
True.
So it's
he has at least 2 walks every start, except for the one that he left early, like the first one of the season when he like got scratched. It's still listed in here, so I guess he pitched for a second, but like, or no, he didn't even throw a pitch. I don't know why it's listed. Maybe he was the listed starter or something. But he has 2 walks or more in every start this year that Blake Snell has made. Like, that's really bad.
I mean, he's got really good stuff, like, and it's strikeout stuff. So, you almost wonder why someone hasn't been like, hey, let's Robbie Ray it from last year a little bit. Like, let's make them beat you. Because I think if he was just more aggressive inside the zone, I think a lot of these issues would kind of subside, and he might turn back into that elite starting pitcher that won a Cy Young.
I agree. I do think Snell still has that upside there because we see glimmers of it still.
Yeah.
Again, he has a 30% K rate right now. Like, it's there.
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's all about whether or not he's willing to live in the zone and give guys an opportunity to hit. And he hasn't been willing to do that very often this year. So it's kind of a choice. Like, he's choosing to put these guys on base. This isn't a matter of like, hey, he's completely wild. I think he just needs to, be a little bit more aggressive and not be willing to put so many guys on base.
I agree there. Let's talk Mackenzie Gore, the rookie lefty, who's doing a pretty good Blake Snell imitation, or at least like a poor man's Blake Snell. 24% K rate, but 12% walk rate. He's got some good swing and miss there with a solid 10.4% swinging strike rate. We like that. But 433 ERA, 435 Sierra. So he's kind of earning what he's been doing. Remember, he started off really strong, Mackenzie Gore did, and then he's kind of giving it back a little bit, as rookies are wont to do. It happens. The 8 earned against your Giants, and then the 8 earned in Colorado, doing a lot of work. In fact, he gave up 6 to Colorado at home before that. So, you're talking about 22 earned runs in those 3 outings, and he's only given up 33 earned runs. So 3 disaster starts, one of which you could have avoided. You could have feasibly sat the rookie in Colorado, and I think you probably should have. Although he had a 2.50 ERA at the time, so I understand if people had a hard time putting him on your bench. But where does Gore go from here? He has 68 2/3 innings on the season, plus another 5 at AAA. He threw only about eyeballing it. It looks like about like 40 innings last year. So what do we get from Mackenzie Gore the rest of the year at age 23? Is he going to be sidelined at any point if they get a starter?
Yeah, I think he's going to end up in the bullpen after the trade deadline. I think.
They already have 6. I forgot. Darvish, Snell, Musgrove, Mania, Clevenger, Gore. They could just move Gore.
And they have Nick Martinez. So, like, they could
That's
just
right.
flip him back into they could flip him back into the bullpen. I think that's where he needs to be. Like, you go look at the pitch values, and his only positive pitch is the fastball, and it's why he's throwing it 60% of the time.
Yeah, he's going the opposite of like the league-wide trend. Mackenzie Gore is embracing his heater.
Yeah, because it's the only pitch that's really actually that good, or that good right now. All of his secondary stuff, and he has 3 secondary pitches. None of them are playing well. They're all negative pitches right now. So that's a problem. That's a huge problem.
A little bit of trouble.
Yeah, especially because you would think with his walk rate, maybe he's not living in the zone as much as he should be. He is. He's right there at league average living in the zone, but he's also giving up league average zone contact while he's doing that. I think he's honestly been a little bit lucky considering how poor his secondaries have played, that he hasn't gotten blown up even more. And I think that if he stays in the rotation, there's probably some trouble coming. And so this might be a sell high jump off point in redraft. Obviously, in Dynasty Keeper, you want to hold on to him and hope that he figures some more things out. He took a huge leap forward this year. Not taking anything away from the guy.
Yeah.
I'm like stoked to see him in the majors and pitching well. And but there's definitely something's got to change on the secondaries if he's going to succeed long term as a starter.
Totally agree with that with Mackenzie Gore, and I do think that there is some sell high, and don't be afraid to bench him in anything that looks like potentially difficult matchup while they do have him in the rotation. I would not push this too far here. I would not necessarily be blindly starting Gore as long as they have him in the rotation. Like some guys I would do that with. Gore is not one. I would be choosy right now because he's shown that blow-up potential. Again, 3 of his outings have caused the bulk of his damage, but I do worry about that happening again. Like obviously not at Detroit, which is where he's scheduled to throw next week. That's wonderful. Start him there, of course. But be careful anything with the Dodgers, any sort of hint of going to Colorado. Although I think the Padres might be done going to Colorado. They might have one more rotation over there. But we'll see. So anyway, of the 3 there, obviously it's not going to be Gore. So of the 2, Mania or Snell, who's your fave?
I think Snell is my favorite just because I can see what the path is to success.
Yeah, I can see where the greatness comes from.
And it's really only one adjustment. Like it's him becoming more aggressive inside the zone.
I think the Robbie Ray path, like that you mentioned, because that was the big thing, was like, hey, Why don't you throw in the zone? I don't want to get hit. You know they can't hit your stuff. It's really good,
Yeah,
right? Like Pete
it's
Walker's like,
fantastic.
let's
Yeah.
just try this. How about you put it in the zone and make them hit it instead of giving them free passes to where you're painting yourself into a corner type deal. So it sounds simplistic. Obviously, if it were that easy, a lot of guys would just do it. There is still the achievement of hitting the zone consistently too.
Mhm.
Let's move to another team here, a little bit different than San Diego, Pittsburgh. It's same level of quality.
Yeah.
But no, the Pirates actually have 3 starters that have had bits of fantasy relevance this year, depending on your league depth. Roansy Contreras is the one that everyone is excited about. He got sent down, I think, really just for that sort of all-star break situation where it's
Mhm.
like, hey, he'll be back. People freak out every time, even though it's been happening now for like a decade. It was a new thing years ago. And like
Yeah.
a good young pitcher would get sent down and we'd all freak out. And it was very clear that they were just being sent down to stay on rotation during the break. People still freak out when it happens. Now, I know it happened a little bit before the break. It was July 7th for Roansy, but it was always about like innings management. So we've got Contreras, Mitch Keller, and JT Brubaker. Mitch Keller had the big velo spike this year, and it hasn't really netted full results. And then JT Brubaker is somebody who's been kind of on and off waiver wires across 15 teamers. So all 3 of these guys are deeper league plays. I think Contreras has a little 12-team viability when he's going, but there is some nerves there about how much he'll be about how well he'll be pitching any given start. So let's start with Keller, the highest profile of the bunch, former big-time prospect. Like I said, had that big velo spike this year, and he's held it. He's still up 2 miles an hour to 96 on average. It has brought better results than last year, but that's only because how could it not? He threw a 6.17 ERA, 179 whip last year. So it is better at 455, 146, but that's still pretty unusable. And the swing strike rate hasn't gone up at all. The walk rate's come down a little bit, no extra strikeouts. Why hasn't the extra velo netted any real tangible big results for Mitch Keller?
Because the secondaries suck. I
Get
mean,
roasted.
that's pretty much it. The secondary sucks, so they can just sit on the fastball, right? Like they kind of can spit on, the secondaries and go, I'm just gonna, missile seek right now. Yeah, and he gives up way too much contact. Like for a guy who throws as hard as he does, like he's pretty darn hittable when he's in the zone. And he's in the zone like league average. So like and he's giving up like an 88% zone contact rate, which is pretty darn high for a guy that you want to get swing and miss from. This is why like the strikeouts are like 7 per 9, right?
Yeah.
So honestly, I've been on and off the Mitch Keller bandwagon more times than I care to admit, but I think they just need to make him a power reliever.
Might be the move.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they want
The
to.
fastball's really, really good, especially with the.
Could you imagine what it would be in 2 inning stints?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If he's gotten it up here, and like I said, held that velo with Mitch Keller.
But,
yeah.
Plus, with his injury history, it might keep him healthier long term. Like he might actually stay on the mound too. So, I think that maybe that is the end. The Pirates have no reason not to try to make him a starter that's successful, but I think ultimately he's gonna end up in the bullpen as kind of a power reliever and maybe a pretty good one.
Oh, absolutely. I can definitely see that. And like, he could kind of pair up with Bednar. I'm not sure they're trading Bednar, by the way. I think a lot of people are kind of expecting them to trade Bednar. They have tons of years of control on him, and he's a hometown guy. He's like a Pittsburgh area guy. I don't know that they're necessarily going to trade him and like open up the closer's role for Yuri De Los Santos or maybe Mitch Keller down the line.
Mm-hmm.
I agree on the potential relief. I'm just not seeing it as a starter right now. Now, a little bit of his base runners issue with his what was his 143 infield defense. I just ran the numbers real quick. Outside of Cabrian Hayes at third base, who is doing positively, not much else going on that infield defense for the Pirates. So keep that in mind a little bit too. What about JT Brubaker? Has a 4.02 ERA, 4.11 Sierra. By the way, I didn't mention Keller's Sierra was 4.17. Brubaker, 4.02, 141 with the ERA whip combo, 23% K rate, and the 12% swing strike rate. That swing and miss, I think, is what has earned him the repeated trips off the waiver wire onto somebody's team. Then they realize, oh, this is not that great, even despite the strikeout upside, and then they move on. Is there more to Brubaker here? Can he find something beyond a 4.02 ERA, 141 WHIP this season, the rest of the way?
I'd like to think so, but I'm having a hard time seeing it. Like, again, he's got the opposite problem. His fastball sucks. And really, I mean, the curveball's been the really, really good pitch this year. And that's what got some really good swing and miss too. So I think the park really helps kind of protect him a little bit. PNC is such a great place to pitch. I know that there are times where we see the flashes of greatness and you're like, okay, maybe this is when JT Brubaker is going to start to put it together. But I don't think it's going to ever be consistent. I don't think he's ever really going to dominate. He gives up way too much contact. I think that's going to cause problems, especially with that defense behind him.
Yep. I tend to agree with all that. I don't really need to expound or repeat it. So that's JT Brubaker. And then Roansy. We don't know when Contreras is coming back. I would imagine it wouldn't be too long.
I think they said Tuesday.
Okay, there you go. There you go. Because I feel like he's, I think at the latest it would be after the deadline, because they're obviously going to move like Quintana or maybe just Quintana. He's 34. I don't know that they're necessarily going to try to move Brubaker himself or Zach Thompson. Those are the only other two guys that are oldish at 29. So Quintana will be gone. There'll be a spot for Roansy. And you think he'll be back next week and then finishes out the season in the rotation?
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, he's going to be frustrating to roster because they're going to be these moments of greatness, but also moments where he shows that he's just a rookie pitcher. He doesn't quite yet know
on a bad team.
Yeah, on a bad team. So, like, I think the future is really bright for Roansy.
Fully
I think
agree.
he's, you watch him pitch and you go, oh, this guy's got something special. So I do think long term he's going to be great. I think he's just going to be inconsistent because he's kind of just young and inexperienced, and it doesn't really. I think sometimes he doesn't trust his catcher enough.
That standard pitching prospect, the raw stuff. That it's there, you see how it works, but the inconsistency, the lack of command and control, etc.
This will be one I'll chase for a few years at least.
Oh, for sure.
Because I do think the upside on him long term is I think really, really high.
Totally agree with Roansy Contreras. By the way, 3.78 ERA on the year with a 1.38 WHIP and a 4.19 SIERA. Agree with the frustration. He could be one of those guys that he's got the Rockies at home. Like, the Rockies are coming to Pittsburgh. That's awesome. Boom, gives up 6 earned. And then you're like, he's got the Dodgers in LA. I'm going to sit him, throw 7 scoreless. Like, he's one of those guys that could be that kind of annoying. So, the roller coaster you're about to get on. If you want to do it, go for it with Roansy. Let's go out to Baltimore. One of these guys that I know is treating you well. You're going to have some positive things to say about Tyler Wells. Kyle Bradish is pretty similar. So I paired the two here. Bradish is currently hurt, so we'll talk about that when we get to him. But let's start with Wells, who's been one of your guys in the main, who has really helped kind of flip your rotation around. We're going to talk about another guy, though, who you also had, and maybe you've been taking some pain, and he's been undercutting Tyler Wells' success. How do you feel about Tyler Wells, what he's done so far? Are you concerned about the lack of Ks, or is what he does, which is kind of the low strikeout but minimal contact, is that enough for Tyler Wells to remain successful? Or do you look at that 4.58 SIERA against the 3.38 ERA and say, I need to be careful here? Where do you come out with Tyler Wells?
I think that park really helps him.
God, yes, it does. All of them, by the way, all the Baltimore pitchers.
I think he is saved by how just well that Camden is playing up for pitchers since making the changes to the stadium. Because I think in just about any other park, he would be getting crushed a lot more. But he gets to continue to pitch in Camden. They're clearly not going to
They did not move the wall in during the break.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to change his dimensions. So I think you kind of just ride it for right now. I also think there is a little bit more strikeout upside. It's got an 11% swing strike rate and only 17% strikeout rate. So, and usually kind of the easy, lazy math is to just double that swing strike rate. And, he should be around 20%, 22%. So I think you could actually see him get some more strikeouts. I think he's protected by that park a little bit. I think you do want to be judicious about starts on the road. Like, obviously if he's going to Fenway or if he's going to Yankee Stadium, just sit him, because I do feel like there's a big blow up coming. These skills aren't like elite or anything like that.
It could be tonight. I mean, it's not in New York, but it's against New York.
I did not start him tonight. So.
Justin, okay, so let me ask you this. That start or Cutter Crawford against Toronto?
Oh, God, those are both really bad options.
I know.
I probably would have gone Wells, but
that's what Colin and I have done.
Yeah,
and
I picked up a bunch of middle relievers off the wire
for this week,
just so I wouldn't have to make those kind of starts. I also, I mean, I did some streaming too. Like I'm using Madison Bumgarner, because the Nationals are really bad against lefties. And Bumgarner has been really, really good at home. Like I found some of those starts as well too. But for the most part, like I'd rather start a reliever than get blown up first game out of the break.
We need volume, so we can't really play those games, and so we got to take the starters where we can, and we're risking it with Tyler Wells, even though we need strikeouts.
Good luck, man.
He's probably gonna get like 3 in his bad innings. Yeah, so we'll see how that goes. All right, Cal Bradish. He is nicked right now, but he's on rehab, so that's why I still included him. He's had 2 rehab starts. He should be back relatively soon. He's actually been awesome in those starts, giving up 1 hit in 8 innings with 9 strikeouts, and that's it. That's in Double-A though, so he went down 2 levels, probably because Bowie is closer than their Triple-A. That's my guess. Bowie, Maryland versus wherever. Triple-A is Norfolk, and Norfolk is
Southern Virginia.
Virginia. Okay, so yeah, just a little bit of proximity there, I think, is the reason that he just went to Double-A. So Cal Bradish is crushing over there. I think he and Tyler Wells are very similar. So I think a lot of what you said about Wells, you're going to say about Bradish, but what do you think about Cal Bradish the rest of the way?
He has not been protected by the park quite as much.
He's a 2-1 homer 9.
Yeah, and he's been living in the zone, a league average amount, but when he's in the zone, he's super, super hittable. Like he gets a lot of his strikeouts from stuff outside of the zone. His zone contact rate is 90%. And remember, like 84-85% is around league average. So like he needs to get out of the zone. He needs to do the opposite of Robbie Ray and Snell.
Yeah,
he needs to do what Snell is doing. Be willing to give up maybe a couple more walks, because his command in the zone can be spotty, and when it gets hit, it can get hit a long way. So.
I mean, he's got 7.38 ERA, 1.77 WHIP, but a 4.11 SIERA. It is those homers and an egregious 12.4 hits 9 off of a near 400 BABIP that is getting him. Can Bradish, figure it out, or is the lack of dominance going to be the problem here?
I think some of it's unluckiness too. We're talking about a guy with like a 33% fly ball rate, but a 22% homer to fly ball rate.
Gross. I mean, yeah.
That should even out a little bit, especially in a park like Camden. So, like, I do think things will be better, but like the blow up potential here is huge. The upside huge too because of the strikeouts. Like,
true.
So it's kind of picking your poison. If you're in a position where like, hey, you need that volume and you need those strikeouts, Bradish is a really good gamble.
Yeah, and he'll be on waiver wires too. So if you're really looking for something that could be impact because he was hurt, you're going to see him on some 12s and even some 15-team waiver wires right now. So you could take a shot with Bradish. Let's move to the guy who I think you still have on your team and might be erasing some of the positivity that Tyler Wells has done. You still on the Pivetta train, Nick Pivetta?
I still have him on my team. Again, another guy I did not start this week.
Okay, let's talk about him. So he had the big run. Things were looking like, okay, we're kicking the football. And then Lucy came in and yoinked it again. His July has been disastrous. He's given back all the good work, moved his ERA from 3.23 to 4.50 with 3 monstrously bad starts. However, 2 are against New York. You could have feasibly avoided at least one of them. Did you, by the way? Did you sit him for either New York start?
I believe they were both on 2 starts, so I don't think I did.
Oh, no. It's always tough.
Yeah, no, unfortunately, yeah, his 13.50 ERA in the month of July has been kind of brutal. And in that time, he's given up 4 home runs. He's average, he's got a 390 batting average allowed. His WHIP is 2.25. It's just like been an unreal bad. He may single-handedly be the reason I lost 30 points in 10 days.
Yeah, and I told it's going to be in my box score bits today. I told the story of our chat about how you pepped me up when you were first and I was 14th after a particularly rough day, and then 3 weeks later we go into the break and I'm ahead of you. And I didn't tell the story to like roast you or anything, just to show the volatility of standings. Though is that you were pepping me up, and then not 3 weeks later, I'm ahead of you by 1 spot because of our standings being so crazy volatile. Pavetta is part of that, though, because you said he had a 225 WHIP during this 3-start lull. He had a 195 ERA for 11 starts.
Yeah.
So what are we doing here? Is this just regression and he is who we thought he is, Dennis Green style? Or is there some kind of potential return back to that eliteness that Pavetta was pulling?
No, I think this is probably who he is. I think this is just the chickens coming home to roost a little bit.
Are you moving on then?
Not yet. I got to look at his kind of upcoming schedule and see like how many starts. And I mean, this is something you should be doing with like all your pitchers. Is like, how many starts do you feel comfortable in the next 3 starts starting him? Because if the answer is 1 or 0, then you should just be moving on. I don't care how good they are. Yeah. So
Pavetta gets Milwaukee next week, by the way.
I'm fine with that. So, if he gets blown up in that Milwaukee start, then maybe I'm moving on.
Start to assess some things. I agree. I agree, because that'd be a 4th straight blow up. All right, let's continue to move on here. We'll have to speed up just a little bit because we are running a little short on time. Ranger Suarez, you see anything there for Ranger Suarez in Philly? It's been a bit up and down. Not a whole lot to go off of that has me super excited, but he's been better than he was at the beginning of the season. Is Ranger Suarez somebody you think can go on a run?
No, I don't.
Dennis Green style is who we thought.
Is who we thought
he is,
and it's a bummer because I really thought like the way he came out of the bullpen and didn't lose any of his stuff. And was able to even go deep into games like the same season. Like you really thought that, hey, maybe he can be the next Carrasco,
I should say he is who others thought he was. You and I were pretty high on him. I think we're taking a bit of an L on Ranger Suarez.
Absolutely. Like in spite of the fact, like he hasn't like necessarily lost like a ton of velo. The secondary stuff sucked. Like
it's garbage.
And the fastball hasn't really been great either. So
I thought there was more there, and I was wrong on Ranger Suarez.
I was too. Yeah.
Nick was dead on that one, and he didn't like him from the jump. Ian Anderson, I cut that fool in our league, and he's tried to embarrass me, but I'm not worried about it. He's had like a good ERA, but it's still been the whip in the subsequent starts since I cut him. He does have a 2.30 ERA. That stupid idiot, but he has a 1.47 whip. During those 3 starts because he's still allowing far too many base runners. He leads the NL in walks. I cut him it got untenable, man. He had a 5.31 ERA. He was coming off a 7 earned run outing at Philly when I cut him. I don't regret it. Like I said, of course the ERA came down immediately, but to what end? The whip is still bad. So I moved on personally. So that tells you where I'm at with Ian Anderson, but he does have a 4.62 SIERA and a 4.79 ERA. He has a lot of pedigree and excitement built that way. Is there anything to see in the second half, or does he just walk too many to be successful? Ian Anderson on the Braves.
Yeah. It's interesting because like he's a guy who in the past has had a really good fastball, and this year it has just been hit around.
Yeah, I know, Justin. I just explained how he was on my team.
Yeah, and
he's part of why I was in 14th.
I would have thought that, like, hey, maybe the solution is you need to become more aggressive, right? He's got a 36% zone percentage. Maybe you get that up towards league average and say, hey, like, I'm going to throw the fastball a little bit more. So what does he do these last 2 starts? He's got a sub 30% zone percentage. He's like, I'm not going to throw in the zone at all. And either if you want to walk, I'll put you on base, but I'm going to hope that you
get you out.
I'm gonna hope you chase.
Yeah.
And the fastball has played up better. Like I really don't know what's going on with Ian Anderson.
I don't either, man.
I want to trust it because I've liked Ian Anderson in the past, but I don't. I absolutely just don't trust it, especially in that
I don't
division
either.
that's actually really good. So,
What did you think of the cut?
I
Did you support the cut when I did it?
I absolutely support the cut. I also tried to pick him up just
Well,
because
yeah. I mean, you pick
I'm
him
a
off.
sucker. Yeah, I'm
It's
a
like
sucker for.
It's like I understood why Dustin cut Trent Grisham, and then I picked him up. It's like one of those things. Like I get why you moved on, but I'll try to get him for $40 off the waiver wire because I know what I can get for $40 versus what you paid at the draft. So I totally get that why people went after Ian Anderson. Trevor Rogers, I know we've talked a ton about him this year. He's been one of the bigger busts of the year. 4.52 Sierra with a 5.46 ERA. So even the Sierra is hinting at something better, but how much better? 21% K, 10% walk. The changeup just isn't there. So I am pretty out on like a full scale rebound. Can Trevor Rogers be fantasy relevant the rest of the way? Because right now he's not.
I think he can.
You
Will he
seen
be?
something in the last few?
There's
There's been
definitely
glimpses.
yeah, he's definitely looked better. But instead of like it just being garbage the entire game, he's been garbage in like one inning.
Exactly.
And so it's like, hey, that's progress. Instead of being garbage for 5 innings or 6 innings, you're garbage for 1 out of the 5. But that still hurts because like I think it was his last start, like he was pitching an actual gem, and then in his last inning, he gave up 4 earned runs. And you're like, well, now I don't even get a quality start out of this. Like,
yep.
Um,
It was the fourth inning against Philly. Colin and I have him too, so I'm intimately familiar with Trevor Rogers.
He feels like the kind of guy that's going to have an amazing September, and we're all going to get sucked back in.
Oh, hell yeah! Like for a while, I was hoping that he could be this year's Luis Castillo, and rebound fully. It seems like that's actually going to be Charlie Morton, who's looked a lot better lately. But yeah, with Trevor Rogers, I mean, Colin and I have still had a hard time cutting him in a 15, but he has been so nauseating. Obviously, you think he can do something, so you would be either picking him up or holding then in a 15, right? What about a 12?
I think I'm spot starting him in a 12. So, like, I think he should be on a roster. It doesn't necessarily need to be your roster.
2-step next week at Cincy and versus the Mets.
That's gonna be a disaster. Like I know it is. I'm gonna do it.
So are Colin and I. Yep, because we still have him. We're probably gonna. I mean, we have to.
I have him in the main. I think in my main, I may just need to like my other main, not the one I'm with you. I probably just need to say screw my ratios and go for broke. Like it just get as many strikeouts as I can and not worry about that. But yeah, at Cincinnati, and
I'm nervous. Yep, and then home
Great
to
American
the Mets.
Ballpark, and then home to the Mets. That is a disaster waiting to happen. But
maybe the break.
I think in a deeper league, I'm rolling with it. I think in a 10 or 12, like I don't know how you roll him out there.
No, in a 10 or 12, I would have cut Trevor Rogers by now. But in a 15, we have not pulled that trigger, and we aren't yet.
Hopefully, he gets destroyed on Striker's team. That'd be fine.
It's like I was gonna say that's like one of the few mistakes that Striker has made was the Trevor Rogers one. And
he'd be crushing this all if
Trevor Rogers had panned out. Exactly. Yeah. My boy Jose Urquidy is getting back on track a bit. He's looked a lot better of late.
Doesn't look much worse.
Precisely. I mean, that is 100% the truth. Was things looked horrible. He wasn't even delivering whip, which is usually his go-to. Now he's at a 4.09 ERA, a 1.25 whip, which still isn't great, but from where it was, it's pretty good. 4.31 Sierra. Does not have, great swing and miss. That's kind of the issue. I've always liked the depth of his arsenal, though, and always felt like he could add some strikeouts. Like he's hinted at decent swing and miss. This year, he actually does have the swing strike rate back up to 10%. Is there more from Urquidy here? As I mentioned, he's been on fire of late. His last 6, he has a 2.75 ERA, but with a 3.80 FIP. So keep in mind that he's overplaying that, but the volume's been there again. 6, 6, 7, 6, 8, 6 in the third. So 6 straight quality starts, quality work out of Urquidy, 31 strikeouts and 39 in the third during that run. What do we like in the second half? More of this run or more of the guy who had a 5.04 ERA in the 11 starts before these 6 gems for Urquidy?
I like the fact he pitches in the NL West and doesn't have to face his own team. For these
alone is
six,
nice.
yeah, 4 of these 6 starts were 2 were against Oakland, 1 was against the Angels, one was against the Rangers. Now the other 2 starts were against each New York team. So
Yeah.
I don't want to completely be like, oh, this is just schedule induced. I think it is schedule inflated.
There you go.
But he gets to stay in that division. Like it's not like he has to like go and now pitch in the AL East for the rest of the season or the NL East. Like, no, he gets to pitch in the AL West. He doesn't have to face the Astros offense.
And often there's, at least in September, there's more.
There's a lot of
games.
So
he's really going to be in the division.
As much as I'm not a Urquidy guy, I don't think he's made any massive leap forward or changes.
I agree, by the way. I am a massive Urquidy guy. And I don't think this is a great change into stardom here.
I think he is a really good rest of the season matchups play because the matchups are going to be so good. And I think they're, you may actually get a few more strikeouts because these teams are bad and they swing and miss a lot.
Especially Oakland.
Like Oakland's best hitter or one of their best hitters is Seth Brown, who's striking out just all the time.
30+%.
He's got a 280 on base percentage. But
I like him too, by the way, and that's just, you can't have that, dude.
Yeah, so I mean, anybody going up against these teams you want. So like this is why you want to attack these ALS starters who get to go up against these teams. So
totally agree there.
Yeah.
All right, so that's Jose Urquidy, and there will be some availability there. His recent run probably sopped up some of his availability in 10s and 12s, but check your wire. Always check your wire. Our last guy, Mitch White, pitched last night. Pitched pretty well against your Giants too.
I mean, it wasn't overly impressive or anything. Like it really felt like the Giants bailed him out quite a bit.
He had 1K. He was not. It was not dominant. But 5 innings of 1-hit ball, that's good no matter how you slice it. It played in my fantasy league.
Sure.
But to the point of it's not a breakout party of 10 strikeouts to go with it. That would have been something. My concerns, I am a Mitch White fan, big time actually. My concerns are though that they're going to bring in multiple guys. And there won't be any room at the end for him. Dustin May was working his way back, but I think they're going to go get somebody in the trade market as well.
Andrew Heaney is almost back too, so
Andrew Heaney will be back for 10 minutes, and that'll be fun for you. So beyond those 10 minutes of Andrew Heaney, though, that's my biggest issue. Though, does Mitch White hold the spot the rest of the year without unforeseen injury?
No, and I just don't think there's the upside warranted, at least for this year, to go. He's worth rostering outside of just matchup plays. If he's got a start coming up, especially if you're in one of those leagues, it's daily pickups, and you go, hey, look, he's on the wire, and they're facing the Diamondbacks, or they're they're facing the Giants, the Rockies at home. Then you play it, but I just, outside of that, it's just. You don't know week to week how many, if he's actually going to get a start, because that they could bring back guys. He's gonna, as soon as Heaney's back, and Heaney should be back any day now, he's gonna be a 6 starter. And they're
going to pick up some type of starter. It might be somebody who can hybrid so that they don't have to always have him in, but they're going to get something.
They're absolutely going to get. They're actually absolutely going to add to this team. So. I don't think it's worth it.
I agree. And I really like Mitch White. So maybe you spotted him here. Maybe you get another starter too, but he cannot be consistently trusted. So he's kind of a deep league play where he's
giving up a lot of contact.
And that's the problem.
The strikeouts are not going to come up until he actually doesn't allow so much contact in the zone.
Exactly.
Almost 90%. It's
8% swing strike. And the reason I liked him was we've seen 10, 11 in the bullpen, which I know doesn't automatically translate.
He's at 13%. He is 13% in AAA.
It's there. That's the thing.
There's a pitch mix or sequencing issue going on here. That
I think he's trying
somehow.
to survive, Justin. And yesterday's start is a perfect encapsulation. Like you said, it wasn't dominant for Mitch White,
Mhm.
but he was like surviving. So I think he's
Yeah,
just all out. Like he's not in that zone yet. Mitch White isn't, where he can kind of focus on the strikeouts. And we see this with some guys where their initial thing is to just survive, 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 and then the strikeouts start to come. That could be the case with Mitch White. Now he's 27. It's not like he is some 24-year-old figuring it out. He's been around a while, and he's finally getting a shot here. He might just end up being somebody who is a hybrid guy for them, as opposed to somebody who becomes the next big
maybe
starter.
he's part of the return of a trade. That would,
I could totally see that.
they've
I could
done that before. I mean,
1000%
they
see
just
that.
did it with Stripling, right?
Yep.
Like a team wants a major
That's who
league
he
piece
reminds me of too, by the
and a
way.
minor league piece. Like, he probably just needs a new location in order to kind of take that next step, because they're just so loaded. He's never going to get a full chance.
I fully agree. Injury is the way Mitch White gets a full chance the rest of the year, and you can't bank on that. So I think he's a deep league only kind of guy, to where when he isn't starting, you can maybe hold him. But other than that, I think he's going to bounce on and off the wire again a few more times. So,
Absolutely.
all right, there's some plays that could become gems this year, different the rest of this year. We kind of ran the gamut there on level of play, so hopefully we covered all league types. Justin, we got Potapalooza coming up this weekend, so no Sunday episode, but all day Saturday and Sunday. So how's that for a trade-off?
Well, and I'll put the Sunday episode I do with
Oh, that's right.
Jason on
Yeah,
to
you said you were going to put that on the
yeah,
feed anyway.
on
So
the feed, so that way if you guys and gals don't want to like go through the entire TGFBI feed to find all of the replays in podcast form, I'll put at least that last episode on Sunday on the feed, so you've got something in your podcast player.
perfect. Give the Potapalooza rundown one more time.
Yeah, so starting 10 o'clock in the morning Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific on Saturday, run until the last one starts at 5, so running till 6, so 8 hours each day. And each hour is a different panel with different guests talking different subjects. You're going to be on at 11 a.m. Eastern tomorrow, talking starting pitching, but we've got tons of people: Todd Zola, Bat Flip Crazy Toby, Jenny Butler, Shelly V, Eric Cross. We've got just like a ton of people in the industry who are going to come on, raise money for charity. Every dollar you donate goes to Big League Impact, which is an organization that pairs up. It was founded by Adam Wainwright, and it supports a lot of causes around the world and around the country. But for every dollar you donate, you get a raffle ticket to win awesome prizes. Justin Mason Fantasy is at gmail.com is the PayPal, at Justin Salinger is the Venmo. And yeah, just come out, enjoy it. It'll be streamed everywhere. All my social medias, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. And then I'll also put it on Fangraphs each day. So definitely come out and enjoy it.
Can't wait, man. It's going to be a blast, and I appreciate you putting this on. So I'll see you during the weekend.
Take it easy.